Our story begins in 1907 in a small snow-covered village in Japan, where we meet an extremely poor family consisting of a mother, father, siblings, a grandmother, and our 7-year-old protagonist, Oshin. While the family tries to happily share what little food they have, the father is deeply troubled and suddenly declares that Oshin must leave to work as a maid in a wealthy household. Oshin initially refuses because she wants to stay with her parents and attend school, and while her mother and grandmother also protest, the father insists she must go in exchange for 2 sacks of rice so the family can survive the winter. When Oshin continues to resist, her father loses his temper and tries to hit her, but her mother shields her while the women of the house can do nothing but weep. The next morning, Oshin's mother sits silently by an icy river in deep sorrow, and after failing to respond to Oshin's calls, she eventually faints and is pulled from the freezing water by villagers. It is then revealed that the mother had intentionally stepped into the river hoping to lose her unborn baby, because she could not bear to bring another child into such extreme poverty. Witnessing her mother's desperation breaks Oshin's heart, and she decides she must stand by her family, waking up that night to tell her mother she will go to work the next day. Though her mother initially refuses, Oshin is determined, telling her mother that all that matters is that she lives and pleading with her never to attempt such a thing again. Before leaving, uses a skill learned from her grandmother to make a small straw owl for her brother. When the day of departure arrives, men come with sacks of rice to finalize the trade for Oshin's labor. Her mother dresses her in a handmade kimono and tells her that while she is now on her own and must be strong, she can always come home if the burden becomes too hard to bear. Her grandmother then gives her a single coin, a small treasure she says is all she can afford, before hugging her tightly. As Oshin leaves, the sight is so heartbreaking that even her father, who insisted on the arrangement, breaks down in tears. Oshin's working life begins with grueling labor. She must wake early to draw water, light the cooking fire, and help prepare meals for the staff. Despite her hunger, she is not allowed to eat with the others, and the lady of the house beats her when she fails to step off an expensive mat correctly. Forced to clean the entire house on an empty stomach, Oshin finally goes to the kitchen only to find no rice left, and the lady cruelly tells her to eat the few grains stuck to the side of the pot. Oshin eats the scraps with satisfaction, but her heart still longs for education. She even follows school children while carrying the household's baby on her back until the lady calls her back to wash clothes. The work is relentless, requiring Oshin to wash laundry in the bone-chilling, icy water of the river. Yet she eventually grows used to the hardship and begins finishing her tasks before she is even told. Tragedy strikes when the woman of the house accuses Oshin of stealing a missing coin. Despite Oshin's pleas of innocence, the woman humiliates her by stripping off her clothes, eventually finding the coin that her grandmother had given her and refusing to believe it was brought from home. Furious and humiliated, Oshin flees into a heavy blizzard and eventually collapses unconscious in the snow. She is rescued by a boy named Seiko, who brings her to his hideout in the forest and plays the harmonica while she recovers. Oshin learns from a man named Mitsuzu that Seiko stayed up all night to care for her, and she feels a deep sense of gratitude. Though it is eventually revealed at the employer's house that the woman's own son stole the coin, the woman feels no remorse. Meanwhile, Oshin refuses to return to her village because she feels she has nowhere to go. It is revealed that Seiko is a deserter from the war hiding in the mountains, and though taking her in is a risk, he welcomes her. Seiko tells Oshin that her name means faith and truth, and he encourages her to live a beautiful, meaningful life. As they grow closer, Oshin discovers Seiko is a former soldier with a bullet still in his body, traumatized by the deaths he witnessed on the battlefield. Seiko begins teaching Oshin the alphabet and how to read and write, eventually explaining to her that war is never a good path because it requires taking lives. When spring arrives, Seiko realizes he cannot keep Oshin in the mountains and must take her home so she can live her life well. He gives her his harmonica as a parting gift and carries her toward the village on his back. However, as they prepare to say goodbye, soldiers arrive and recognize Seiko as a deserter. While Seiko tries to protect Oshin and escape, the soldiers shoot and kill him before her eyes. Heartbroken, Oshin returns home, but her father hits her because the family was humiliated by the theft accusation and had to return the rice. Oshin is forced to sleep outside in the cold and watches helplessly as her younger sister is given away for adoption because the family cannot afford to feed her. Determined to work, Oshin seeks a position at the Kaguya household. Though the lady of the house, Runi, and her daughter-in-law, Mino, initially say they need no help and offer her money to leave, Oshin refuses the charity and stays seated outside until nightfall. She pleads for a chance, explaining that her family needs the 5 sacks of rice promised for 2 years of work. Runi is impressed and allows her to stay, but Oshin soon becomes sad because the household staff is kind and won't let her perform the grueling tasks she is used to. Oshin eventually meets the daughter of the house, Ko, who is her age. When Oshin picks up one of Ko's books to read, Ko accuses her of being a thief because no one believes a maid can read. To prove herself, Oshin reads the book aloud with such fluency that the family is shocked. Runi warns Oshin that people often assume maids are guilty, so she must be careful. Conflict arises again when Ko tries to take Seiko's harmonica, and Oshin refuses to sell it, calling it her last memory of him. During a struggle, Ko is knocked unconscious, and her father demands Oshin be thrown out, especially after learning she had been with a traitorous deserter. Oshin defends Seiko's honor, arguing that war is not the answer. However, Ko regains consciousness and defends Oshin, admitting she tried to force Oshin to give up the harmonica and that their fight was just a childish game. Oshin is allowed to stay, and she and Ko become close friends. One day, Oshin is shocked to find her mother working as a hostess for drunk men to earn money for the family. When Oshin breaks down in tears, Rooney comforts her, explaining that this is the greatness of women. They sacrifice their dignity and endure pain for their parents, husbands, and children without thinking of themselves. When news arrives that her grandmother is dying, Oshin insists on finishing her work before leaving, eventually rushing home in a kimono gifted by Ko. Oshin arrives too late to see her grandmother alive, which fills her with deep regret. The next morning, her mother returns the coin Oshin's grandmother had originally given her, which the family had once taken back during the theft accusation. Seeing her mother's tireless work, Oshin realizes her mother does not view her labor as a struggle, but as a duty of love. Oshin tells her mother that she is happy to be her daughter and declares that she can now take care of herself and the family. No longer just a child, Oshin steps forward as a responsible young woman to fulfill her dreams of studying and supporting her family.